Councilmember Mitch Brown, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Council Member. This evening, Council is pleased and appreciative to have Pastor Charles Newman of Antioch Baptist Church to pray with us. Pastor, it's good to see you again.
You too. Let us bow our heads. Dear God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, we come to you today just to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be in your presence once again. We now ask that you cover this meeting, our leaders, as they go and do the work that you have called them to do for such a time as this. We ask that you cover our city, that we may be receptive of the works that come out, that it all be due into your will. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. This week's communications received by the City Clerk's Office are listed on the agenda and we publish in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any resolutions or announcements from my colleagues, starting with President Pro Tem?
None from me, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Mitch Brown.
Nothing this evening, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Dorans.
Nothing for me either. Thank you.
Councilmember Favor.
I do have something this evening. Thank
right.
you, Council President. Tonight, I have Resolution 0098X-2021 to recognize the safety, environmental, mobility, and prosperity outcomes achieved through the completion of the Smart City Challenge Grant Award by the City of Columbus and its many partners. In 2016, the City of Columbus was awarded nearly $50 million in federal and private funding to demonstrate how advanced data and intelligent transportation systems could reduce congestion, keep travelers safe, protect the environment, respond to climate change, connect underserved communities, and support economic vitality. I'd like to congratulate all of the team members who worked tirelessly on the Smart Cities effort over the past few years, with special thanks to Director Mike Stevens and Deputy Director Mandy Bishop. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Mandy to talk about a little bit more with us about the accomplishments and next steps for the Smart City Challenge Grant. Mandy?
Oh, thank you, Council Member Favor, and thank you, Council President Harden and members of City Council. So tomorrow morning, Smart Columbus will share with the community that we have successfully concluded the implementation of the Smart City Challenge Award. Through $50 million in awards and $19 million in city, state, and county cost share funds, Columbus has deployed the most comprehensive portfolio of emerging mobility technologies of any city in 5 years, something we should be proud of. Every technology demonstration we pursued, whether autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles, electric vehicles, and charging infrastructure, or shared mobility or navigation tools, was deployed with the prosperity of our city in mind. We were seeking to show how safer, cleaner, and more equitable transportation options could create opportunity for Columbus residents and prepare our region for the future. Several projects were deployed in Linden to show how the newest transportation technologies can address some of the damage caused by decades of redlining, disinvestment, and isolation caused by interstate construction. So as we wrote the final report, we were reflecting, and we were really able to see some of the outcomes and results from the program. And through this opportunity, the Smart City Challenge, we helped expectant mothers access healthcare and food. We delivered thousands of meals and masks to neighbors in need during the pandemic. We adopted electric vehicles at the fastest rate of any Midwestern city. We created apps and tools that will help residents navigate our city as they return to their normal routines. An accessibility analysis found that travelers originating in the Linden Transit Center can now reach at least 20,000 additional jobs and 3,000 additional healthcare services within 30 minutes. Than using trip planning tools that existed prior to the introduction of the Smart Columbus projects. 5 of our 8 projects will continue to be sustained. In addition to the USDOT program, last year we closed out the Electrification program funded by the Paul G. Allen Family Foundation. During that program, we helped to accelerate EV adoption, exceeding our goal for EVs sold and eliminating about 1,850 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions, something that's very critical in the Midwest towards mitigating greenhouse gas emissions. And I just want to get right to the point and really thank everyone that made this possible. Columbus is now a global leader in smart city innovation and has written a playbook for cities around the country to follow. Eden Strategy Institute recently named Columbus number 11 in the ranking of smart cities and number 2 in the U.S., just simply behind New York City. We couldn't have delivered or scaled the Smart City Challenge without the engagement of 100,000 residents and the collaboration of hundreds of community partners. I want to thank you, Columbus residents, particularly the Linden community. You guys have been great for collaborating with us to understand the mobility gaps in our community and work to close them. Linden has helped to show communities around the country what's possible, benefiting other communities for years to come. I want to thank you to our cost share partners, the Ohio Department of Transportation, Franklin County Commissioners, Franklin County Engineers Office, and the Ohio State University, and our key initiative partner, the Columbus Partnership, for delivering your part of the electrification program and helping us amplify our message and our impact. There are so many other partners, too many to list. I could spend the entire council meetings sharing all of them. But I also want to thank you, City Council, for all of your support throughout the past almost 5 years as we've gone on our journey. And I want to thank you, the Smart Columbus team, who I've had the opportunity to lead for the past 4 years, that you accepted the challenge, embraced our North Star, that mobility is the great equalizer of the 21st century, and delivered a diverse program. We look forward to continuing the momentum the challenge has created and to the next steps in the Smart City Challenge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mandy. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Well, we have truly learned a lot through this Smart Cities journey. Thank you to the entire team for all of the work that you have done over the past several years to make this initiative a success for Columbus. With that, I would move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Hart.
Adopted.
Thank you so much. Next, I have Resolution 0103X-2021 to recognize June 14th as 614 Day in the City of Columbus. 614 Day is reflective of the date that matches our beloved city's 614 area code and is a special time that we reflect, respect, and honor all that makes the City of Columbus unique. The citywide 614 Day was brought to Columbus by Johan Terrell and Warhol on Wall Street and has collaborated with various partners that help celebrate the growth every year. 614 Day provides residents from all over the City of Columbus an opportunity to observe our city's strong relationship with our local businesses and neighborhoods and to show our appreciation of their support. As our city continues to recover from a challenging year, the 2021 614 Day is a celebration and all about honoring the perseverance of the city. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Johan Terrell to talk about this year's celebration. And you're already there celebrating.
Yes, we're already here celebrating. How's everybody doing? Thank you, Councilwoman Favor. We really appreciate you. Happy 614 Day to everybody. Everybody say happy 614 Day. All right. Listen, we would just really like to say thank you. You know, we love the city a lot, and City Council has really supported over the past few years, led by, Councilwoman Favor's efforts to really recognize this day. This is more than just, eat local. This is drink local. This is support local. This is wear local. This is connect as locals. And so we just want to keep driving this mission forward. And we're hopefully soon, one day, everybody will get work off on 614 Day, and we can really, really celebrate and go out and create some economic impact in our city. But thank you again for supporting us. We really appreciate it. Me and Malcolm and the rest of the team are just glad to be a part of this great city. So thank you so much.
Johan, if folks want to go out and celebrate today safely, where can they check you out?
Yeah, we're here at Seven Sun Brewery and Bud Dairy Food Hall. It's a family-friendly event. You know, bring your kids, get something to eat. We got vendors out here, local vendors. We're trying to help support them. So we'll be here till 9 p.m. So after you guys get off of City Council, come on out and hang out with us. We appreciate it. And if you can't celebrate here, just go support somebody local. You know, call a friend, go buy a drink from a local coffee shop. Just go support local. That's what this whole thing is about. So thank you. Hope to see some of you soon.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Well, I, for one, will be joining you all, depending on how long the agenda is tonight. But thank you so much for advocating on behalf of our city. With that, I move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. And then just a few more, Council President Harden. Tonight on the consent agenda, I had Resolution 0104X-2021, expressing our opposition to state budget amendments that present an attack on affordable housing. I have invited Carly Booz with the Affordable Housing Alliance to speak briefly on this matter. Ms. Booz?
Thank you, Chair Favor. Good evening, Council President Harden and members of Council. My name is Carly Booz. I'm the Executive Director at the Affordable Housing Alliance of Central Ohio. We're a nonprofit organization that advocates for the tools that we need to solve Franklin County's 54,000 household affordability gap. The Alliance wants to thank you for calling attention to this surprising addition to the Senate substitute version of Ohio's operating budget, which would undermine critical affordable housing programs. This program and this proposal would intensify Columbus's housing crisis and remove an incredibly important tool from our affordable housing toolkit. For a little bit of background, we have an affordable housing crisis for a really simple reason. It costs more to build a home than many people can afford to pay in rent. To overcome this problem, the federal government created the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program to help offset construction costs. And in exchange for this funding, the affordable housing providers have to enter into a legally binding restrictive covenant to limit the amount of rent that they can collect. Because of this legal and regulatory reality, these affordable housing properties are appraised for property tax purposes based on the rents they can actually charge, as opposed to the general market rents used to appraise unrestricted properties. It's really important to note that this is not a property tax exemption. These buildings do continue to pay taxes, but rather it makes sure that these homes are properly valued as opposed to requiring that they be overvalued. Ohio's proposed change would require these properties to be evaluated at a market rate value despite this fact, despite the fact that they're legally prohibited from charging that much rent. This proposal would significantly and unfairly raise taxes on the properties that are least capable of absorbing them, while harming the most vulnerable members of our community, including seniors, kids, individuals with disabilities, and working parents. According to some projections, 35% of all of Ohio's affordable housing inventory could be in financial jeopardy if this proposal is adopted. Not only would this risk the solvency of our current workforce housing stock, likely leaving behind hundreds of blighted or foreclosed buildings and thousands of distressed residents, but such a significant tax increase would make it almost impossible for Ohio to continue using the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program, which as a construction subsidy has no way to offset these unrealistically high operating costs after the property is built. This represents a loss of tens of millions of dollars to the city of Columbus and undermines our local efforts to resolve the housing crisis by eliminating an irreplaceable source of leveraging funds. This, in turn, impedes our region's ability to support a sufficient workforce, to provide stability for our seniors, and to meet the economic development needs of our growing region. And again, I want to thank you for raising the alarm on this and expressing opposition to this really dangerous proposal. I thank you for your time tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Booz, for just giving us a brief oversight. If residents who are watching, they want to make their voice and their opposition heard, what can they do?
You can absolutely call your legislature. I think at this point, reaching out to your member of the House would be a very valuable technique right now.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Well, Ms. Booth, yes, Councilmember Remy.
Yeah, I'll speak up a little bit about this because the economic development damage that this creates for the mission that we've been on as a council for affordable housing, thankfully led by you, Councilmember Favor, is so significant. And I would take it a step further and ask residents to contact both the governor, lieutenant governor, to talk to not only their local representative, but if they happen to know Rick Carfagna, who's on the conference committee. These are people that make a difference. Let's be clear that this was a proposal brought by the Allen County auditor and the Senate president, who's from Allen County, from a small town that thinks that this is a good idea that affects the rest of us. And many of you should be outraged at this proposal. If it should go through, it would be forever damaging to the mission that we're on to provide affordable housing and workforce housing for the citizens of Columbus. So please reach out and make your opinions known.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Remy, for that last remark. And to my colleagues, thank you for your support in this effort as we collectively voice our opposition in writing and vocally to this measure that's being taken right now. And then just a few announcements, and I promise I am done. My office has issued a request for proposals for the Housing for All Community Education Program. We are seeking a provider to assist City Council in educating tenants, landlords, and community members on the 3 recent changes to the city's housing code that include source of income, rental receipt, and renter's choice. The legislation is slated to go into effect on September 1st, and the educational period will help inform the community about these changes. Additionally, on June 23rd at 3 p.m., interested parties can attend the pre-bidders conference to ask questions and learn more about this program. Visit www.columbus.gov/council/housing for all. Please contact my legislative aide, Tynesha Harden, with any questions at tyharden@columbus.gov. On June 17th at 4:30 p.m., I will host a public hearing along with Councilmember Tyson regarding the creation of the East Franklinton Special Parking Area. The hearing will be live on City Council's Facebook page and the City of Columbus's YouTube page. Those interested in submitting testimony can contact my legislative assistant, Anissa Liban at aaliban@columbus.gov. And on the same day, I will host another hearing immediately following at 6 p.m. Regarding the changes to the city's junk motor vehicle code. Those interested in submitting testimony can also submit their testimony to my legislative assistant, Anissa Liban at aaliban@columbus.gov. That is all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you so much, Council President Harden. That's a lot of hearings going on in one day there, Councilmember Favor. I have one resolution and 2 announcements for this evening. My first is ordinance number 102X 2021 to recognize the strength, courage, and perseverance of millions of refugees and to celebrate June 20th, 2021 as World Refugee Day in the city of Columbus. Whereas the United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 5576 on December 4th, 2000, to officially recognize June 20th as World Refugee Day. This year's theme is Together We Heal, Learn, and Shine. Every 20 minutes, people leave everything behind to escape war, persecution, and terror. An unprecedented 70.8 million people around the world have been forced from their homes by conflict and persecution at the end of 2018. More than 16,000 refugees have resettled in the Central Ohio area since 1983, with most of them arriving within the last 10 years. The city of Columbus has a proud history of welcoming refugees by offering a safe and thriving environment to support displaced persons and families seeking a new beginning. There is a network of resettlement agencies who are actively working with refugees in Columbus, regardless of their country of origin or religious beliefs. Through resiliency, self-sufficiency, and entrepreneurship, local refugees have established new paths and built networks of support and commerce, which have had a positive impact in Columbus for new and existing residents. The local refugee community contributes an estimated $1.6 billion to the Columbus economy and supports over 21,000 jobs in the region. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council does hereby recognize and celebrate June 20th, 2021 as World Refugee Day and renews its commitment to welcoming and supporting all new Americans in the City of Columbus. This evening, I'm very pleased to welcome Angie Plummer, the Executive Director of Community, Refugee, and Immigration Services, and Nadia Kasvin, the co-founder and director of Us Together, to share a few words this evening. Angie, if you could go first and Nadia directly after, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilmember Ramey. Good evening, President Hardin, President Pro Tem Brown, and all members of City Council. I will try to be brief so that you have time to celebrate 614 Day, and because my neighbor is not cutting down his tree at the moment. So, as Councilmember Ramey mentioned, Sunday, June 20th, and throughout the month of June, we join people across the world to celebrate the courage and resilience of refugees, recognizing the hardships they've faced and the new lives they've created. And now is a time that we can come together and celebrate after what were 4 very difficult years. It's time to celebrate renewed support for the refugee program. We can celebrate their positive impacts on our communities, including the many contributions they made as frontline workers during this pandemic. Many refugees worked in the fields of healthcare and logistics and have very much contributed to our recovery. For me locally, it's a time that I really reflect on the milestones that the refugees I know have accomplished. Many graduations and people becoming citizens, starting businesses, becoming homeowners, like so many of our Bhutanese Nepali community, and reuniting with their family members. So it's a time of celebration, and I celebrate the unwavering support the City Council has provided to our refugee community for many years in what was a very difficult period of time, and we're not completely through it. This council and our community was always there to support refugees and to recognize their contributions. So thank you, Council Member, for this resolution, and I hope you all have an enjoyable summer. And I'll turn it over to my sister Nadia.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Nadia Kasvin, and I'm co-founder and director of Us Together, the agency that serves refugees and immigrants and limited English proficiency clients since 2003. It's an honor to join Columbus City Council in celebrating World Refugee Day. Thank you to Councilmember Ramey for sponsoring this resolution and for always serving as a compassionate leader for all who call Columbus home. Issues of human displacement are not new, but the sheer number of those who are displaced is growing at unprecedented rate. Global challenges such as climate change, COVID-19 pandemic, unstable economic conditions, civil unrest around the world have created the largest number of displaced individuals in modern history. And we know that approximately 26 million of almost 80 million displaced are individuals who call themselves refugees. Refugees, people who escape persecution. And Ohio has been a national leader in welcoming refugees, standing as the state with the 5th largest number of refugee admissions. And here in Columbus, we continue to welcome refugees in our communities. We have been talking a lot about economic contributions of refugees, with many being on the front lines of pandemic. But today, I just want to say a couple of words about being a welcoming community. We pride ourselves on being a welcoming city. Creating an America that welcomes all refugees and immigrants starts with making changes in our communities. This year, I will celebrate 28 years since I came to this country as a refugee, and what a journey it's been. And my family and I are successful because of all the people around us who supported us and who gave us a hand out. No act of kindness and welcoming is too small. And there are so many countless ways you can support refugees in your everyday life, from supporting refugee and immigrant-owned businesses to talking to your new neighbors to better understand refugee experiences. Refugee serving organizations like Us Together, CREASE, and others rely on the communities we serve to keep us strong. Connect with us, follow us on social media, volunteer to show your new neighbors around city, donate furniture to help us set up apartments for people who only come here with a bag or two. It's up to all of us to build strong support networks for all refugees and immigrants that call Columbus home. And it's important that we work all together as a community. Thank you so much. And it's so exciting to continue to celebrate its important holiday.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And of course, Angie. Both Chris and Us Together are great partners to myself and to the city of Columbus. So on behalf of my colleagues, we're very thankful to you and the work that you do for our residents. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments this evening? Yes, Council President Pro Tem Brown.
Thank you, Councilmember Ramey. I'll just be brief, and thank you for offering this resolution. And you know, Nadia and Angie, I want to thank you for making it through the last 4 years. And you know, it says I'm saying it a little lighthearted, but I mean it with the utmost gravity. Because I know how challenging it was just to run your organizations, let alone for so many people whom you call friends and family to feel personally attacked over and over again, and for their own relationships with their family members to be made into political attacks is a kind of emotional upheaval and trauma that I know you were on the front lines of confronting with the community. So thank you for that deeply to both of you, and for what you continue to do and will be doing for years to come to help Columbus be the city that it is. I think I read Franklin County resettles about half of the refugees in this whole state are resettled right here in our county. So I know the work that you do to make our city as strong and vibrant and welcoming as it is. So thank you both, and thank you, Council Member.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. It's such a timely resolution, and thank you so much for bringing this to the floor today. Later on this evening, I'll be presenting similar legislation as we continue in the effort, a wonderful initiative created by Councilmember Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown for our immigrant and refugee families, the Columbus Families Together Fund, which continues to provide legal services to the community. We truly appreciate the work that you ladies continue to do in our community. Just recent changes are really wreaking havoc once again for our families that fall within this category. And it's so necessary that we continue to uplift this topic of conversation whenever we can. So thank you, Councilmember Remy, for doing this today.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Councilmember Favor. Anyone else? I will take one more moment to ask both of you, are there any updates you can share about the Biden administration's work on the refugee and immigration policy? And, you know, what are some changes you'd like to see?
Well, thank you for asking that. We know it's very important to speak up And just last month, due to grassroots efforts and efforts of many people around the country, thousands of passionate advocates, who convinced this administration to increase the number of refugees that we hope to see coming in the next several months and into the next fiscal year. So the number for this fiscal year has been increased, and we hope to see more and more new people coming to our communities. Angie?
I would agree with Nadia. It was unfortunately off to a slower start than we had hoped, and so we have lost some time, but the administration has changed the very discriminatory categories to make them more broadly open so that families can be reunited, and we no longer exclude certain nationalities. So that's a very positive development, and we have every reason to believe that the Biden administration is fully supportive of the program and doing the best they can now with the current circumstances with COVID worldwide and getting interviews accomplished. So I think we're optimistic about FY22.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here this evening and very happy to pass this resolution. If there are no more questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. I have a couple announcements. I would like to remind everyone that the next Council Residential Districting Commission meeting is this Wednesday, June 16th from 5:30 to 7:30. This week, they are focusing on the north side of town. For more information on the CRDC, please visit columbus.gov/districtingcommission or email crdc@columbus.gov. Also, Council has received an application from Mayor Andrew J. Ginther to create a designated outdoor refreshment area, also known as a DORA, in the Arena District. The DORA would encompass Nationwide Arena, Huntington Park, and the new Crew Stadium. I will host a virtual public hearing next Thursday, June 24th at 5 p.m. to review the DORA application, what it means, how it will be utilized, and what you can expect from a DORA moving forward. It will be streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and CTV Channel 3. Any resident wishing to provide written or spoken testimony should email Lucy Frank at ljfrank@columbus.gov by noon on the day of the hearing. One more thing back on the CRDC, I just want to remind everyone that if you go to columbus.gov/districting commission, there is a survey that is available. We want to hear from as many people as possible. The districting commission wants to know. And so we want to make sure that everybody gets out there. It's www.surveymonkey.com/r/Columbus districts. That's all I have this evening. Thank you very much, Council President Harden.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you for your leadership on the redistricting committee. That's a lot of really important work. I hope our residents are engaging in that process. Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, President Harden. This evening, I have a resolution recognizing World Sickle Cell Day and a few announcements. Resolution 100X-2021 to recognize June the 19th as World Sickle Cell Awareness Day in the city of Columbus and to support efforts to increase local and global awareness regarding sickle cell disease. Whereas World Sickle Cell Awareness Day is an annual global public health campaign held on June 19th, it focuses on improving awareness on the topic of sickle cell disease, as known as sickle cell anemia, which is the most frequent genetic disorder worldwide. The original resolution was adopted by the United Nations on December the 22nd of 2008. This resolution recognized the work of the World Health Organization, which advocated identifying sickle cell disease as a public health problem and to distinguish sickle cell as one of the world's foremost genetic diseases. It also called for members of the United Nations General Assembly to use the occasion to stress the importance of continuing research to treat this illness. And whereas sickle cell disease is an inherited blood disorder that affects red blood cells and can cause serious health problems, which include restricted blood flow, tissue and organ damage, prolonged episodes of intense physical pain, stroke, blindness, and vision problems, and an increased susceptibility to infections. It is characterized by the abnormality in the oxygen-carrying hemoglobin molecules in the red blood cells that the affected cells assume an abnormal sickle cell shape, hence the name sickle cell disease. Whereas an estimated 300,000 children are born with sickle cell disease each year. Moreover, a projected 100,000 people die annually due to this illness, while sickle cell disease is a global health problem. This disorder occurs more frequently in the tropical regions, particularly in the sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, and the West Indies. It also impacts people of almost all races, including people of Mediterranean descent. In the United States, more than 100,000 people have sickle cell disease, which equates to 1 out of every 500 African American children are born with sickle cell anemia. And whereas the Ohio State University's Comprehensive Cancer Center serves as one of our community's key strategic partners in the fight against sickle cell disease, the organization advocates holistic health care for sickle cell patients and works to improve health outcomes for sickle cell patients transitioning from childhood to adulthood. Their clinic provides education, psychological support, and practices a philosophy that believes that better patient outcomes can be achieved by bringing together medical professionals, hospitals, and peer mentoring groups to coordinate all-inclusive patient care. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus, this council is hereby recognized June the 19th of 2021 as the World Sickle Cell Awareness Day in the City of Columbus. And moreover, this council resolves to continue to support efforts to increase local and global awareness regarding the treatment and prevention of sickle cell disease. And to share some comments regarding this resolution, we have Dr. Pal Desai. Dr. Desai is a hematologist who specializes in treating patients with sickle cell disease at OSU CCC, the James. She is part of a multidisciplinary team that treats these patients and provides them with unique opportunities for clinical trials of alternative therapies to treat their disease as a director of the sickle cell research at The Ohio State University and the co-director of the sickle cell program. She is involved in a variety of related national organizations, including on the boards of the American Society of Hematology Sickle Cell Disease Guideline Committee and the Sickle Cell Adult Provider Network. She also serves as an associate professor of internal medicine for Ohio State and has authored more than a dozen articles for publication and presented nearly 40 abstracts and presentations to the health community. And now, Dr. Desai, would you please make some comments regarding the World Sickle Cell Awareness Day?
Thank you, Councilwoman Tyson, and thank you to the City Council for having me here today. I joined the City Council as well as the global efforts to shine the light on Sickle Cell Awareness Day, and I want to recognize the brave warriors and families that fight against this disease. They face multiple barriers in combating their illness, including especially what we see in the U.S. as healthcare discrimination as it affects primarily patients of color. And so with this, we appreciate the partnership in shining the light and spreading awareness on sickle cell disease, both locally, nationally, and globally. Thank you so much for allowing us to talk about this.
Thank you, Dr. Desai, and just certainly do appreciate your efforts and your efforts to ensure that families and affected patients have an opportunity to live their best quality of life based upon your research and your work. Thank you for being a leader, as I stated already, in this field. And as we think about our, this is Sickle Cell World Sickle Cell Awareness Day, that again, there are patients all over this individuals all over this world that are affected by this disease, and just want to continue to make sure that not only Dr. Desai, but other doctors, which I know there's plenty of doctors who are focused in this effort. I've had the opportunity to meet a number of them, and so that are focused in this effort to eradicate sickle cell disease. And there's certainly a lot of new research being done, not only at the James, but all over this country. So really do appreciate your work, and us again making sure people are aware of a disease, as you said, that pretty much affects people of color, and you just mentioned also, everyone not necessarily having all the access to health care they need, not for James, but based upon sometimes it's the issue of race. And so just appreciate you and what you do, and especially the James. Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Desai on this resolution? And again, as we think about this month, a year ago, that we passed the racism and public health crisis, that this certainly is another demonstration of if a disease that is affected, people that are affected by this disease are people of color. And certainly we want to continue to do everything we possibly can to ensure that they are getting the treatment that they need to be able to move forward and raise awareness. And lastly, just want to make sure that just get tested. If you're thinking about having children, get tested for sickle cell. If you happen to be individuals of color, get tested. That will help prevent more children getting this disease. And so with that, if there are no questions or comments, I move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you very much. And then I just have a couple of announcements. The first announcement is around COVID-19 vaccine information. The COVID-19 virus is still with us. Last Friday, there were 251 new cases, 11 hospitalizations, and 70 deaths. So thus far, only 46.64% of the state's population has started the vaccine process, which is how we will finally end this pandemic. Columbus Public Health is distributing safe and effective COVID vaccines and continue to follow Ohio Department of Health guidelines. It is important to remember that safe, effective COVID-19 vaccines are still being administered statewide and are available at many of our local grocery stores, pharmacies, and around our community. We encourage people to continue to wear masks if you have not been fully vaccinated, and then to get vaccinated as soon as possible. This week, there are some pop-up clinics through Columbus Public Health, and you can either walk in or you can also still call 645-1519. But on today, we have, as we are having this meeting, the Far East Rec Center from 12:30 to 7. On June the 15th, Feddersen from 1 to 4. The Columbus Commons on the 17th from 11 to 2. Wedgewood Village from 9 to 4. Beatty Recreation Center from the 21st from 12:30 to 6 p.m. On the 24th, Columbus Commons from 11 to 2. June 24th, Westside Free Store Ministries from 1 to 4. June 29th, Rickenbacker Airport from 9 to 4. And Grace United Church of Christ on Shady Lane from 1 to 4. So again, I want to just continue to remind people again to get their vaccines. And then lastly, Primary One Health special enrollment. Please contact the Primary One to schedule an appointment to be able to, for open enrollment, to be able to get insurance, which we've known it as the Obamacare, but please call 614-620-8088 for this special enrollment period. And that's all I have in terms of my announcements. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Thank you to all my colleagues for those important updates and for the information shared this evening. I don't have any resolutions, but I want to really just pick up where Councilmember Tyson left off in terms of COVID updates and our progress here in the city of Columbus and Franklin County. As stated, at this point, approximately 51% of Franklin County has received at least one dose. And so please continue to encourage folks to learn more about the vaccine and how to get vaccinated. As Councilmember said, the virus is still here. We know one way to get rid of it. It is for us to get as many people vaccinated as possible. So please, please, please help us out talk to our friends and family about that. Just wanted to say something that's been on my heart that today. Yesterday or this weekend, we had two babies, two young people who were shot, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, while they were riding a bike. I'm asking if anybody has information about this shooting to please come forward. There is no hood code, no street code, no street ethos that says it's okay to shoot babies, to shoot kids. If you have information about this shooting or any other of the gun-related violence that's happened in our city, I encourage you to come forward. I want to applaud community leaders this weekend, Mr. Al Edmondson and folks who came together and called for a ceasefire. Enough is enough. This council has stacked hands with the administration and community partners to put millions of dollars onto the streets over the last weeks to engage our young people and to keep them safe. It is working. We have to continue to give it time. These organizations, these churches, these community leaders are out there doing the hard work. But I have to say, for those who are perpetrating this violence, we will come for you. You will be held accountable. And we have to keep our kids safe. We have to keep our community safe. That is our top priority. So I apologize. I just had to get that off my chest. It has been sitting with me all day. We can't. This is not okay. This is not okay. With that, are there any comments from our elected officials, our city auditor, city attorney's office, or any of our judges? Seeing none, at this time, I request the following ordinances be removed from the consent portion of the agenda. Ordinances 1558, 1559, 1560, 2021 from the Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee. Are there any others? May we now have a motion to waive the reading of titles of 30-day legislation by the clerk?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
The following ordinances appear. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, clerk. Would the clerk now read those into the record?
Public Utilities, ordinances 1253, 1276, 1286, 1327, 1335, 1361, 1368, 1373, 1382, 1386, and 1455-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinance 1407-2021. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, ordinance 1583-2021. Zoning Committee, ordinance 1516-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There are no speakers on the first reading. The following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent. Please, may the clerk please read those into the record.
Resolutions of Expression 104X and 101X-2021. Finance Committee, ordinances 1194, 1355, 1394, 1400, 1413-2021. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 1186 and 1190-2021. Public Safety Committee, ordinance 1223-2021. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 296, 1226, 1238, 1262, 1291, 1339, 1347, 1422, 1423, and 1457-2021. Neighborhoods Committee, ordinance 1123-2021. Technology Committee, ordinances 1429, 1432, 1474-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 1296, 1297, 1304, 1331, 1350, 1360, 1460-2021. Housing Committee, ordinances 1484, 1485, 1486, 1487-2021. Economic Development Committee, ordinances 1359, 1365, 1369, 1414, 1415, 1416, 1417, 1418, 1465, and 1502-2021. Administration Committee, ordinance 795-2021. Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinances 1363, 1364, 1552-2021, and appointments from the mayor's office numbered A0094, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 121, 113, 114, 118, 119, and 120-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I don't see any speakers or any abstentions or any questions or comments from my colleagues on the consent portion of the agenda. Seeing none, may I have a motion of approval?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Clerk, if you finish this, then we'll call for recess. If you finish this vote, we'll call for recess. Clerk, if you finish the roll, just so we can then call for recess to figure this out.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Consent portion is passed. May I have a motion to recess momentarily?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Council is in recess. We'll be right back. Thank you. think that we're going to be able to start the meeting back up. Miss Angie, can you tell me when I have 7 council members? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes, sir. We're waiting on Councilmember. Mhm.
2021 to authorize the city auditor to execute a professional services contract with AED Advisors LLC in an amount up to $115,000 for the purpose of providing advisement on the division's compliance with federal tax information, safeguarding requirements as required in IRS Publication 1075, to authorize an expenditure up to $115,000 from the general fund, to waive the competitive bidding requirements of City Code Chapter 329, and to declare an emergency. This contract is for 3 years, subject to annual approval and appropriation from Council. In 2020, the Auditor's Office initiated a request for proposals process for professional services to review its compliance with the IRS Publication 1075 and received 4 responses. A contract was established with AED to evaluate the division's current safeguarding policies and practices in anticipation of an IRS on-site review that was conducted this March. Following that, the Auditor's Office is in need of additional professional services to assist with ongoing compliance requirements and to prepare for the next. Services will be provided to ensure the federal tax information is properly safeguarded during the transition to the city's new revenue management system. And due to the review of other vendors during the 2020 request for proposals process, the Auditor's Office is requesting to waive competitive bidding to continue their established work with AED. Emergency action is considered to maintain uninterrupted services from AED. Any questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Ordinance 1490-2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to modify a grant agreement with Columbus Urban League, originally authorized under Ordinance 0472-2021, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund and to declare an emergency. Last year, Council partnered with Columbus Urban League to launch the Right to Recover program, which provides emergency financial assistance to low-income workers who cannot afford to miss a paycheck but need to isolate following a positive COVID-19 test. And we know the way that missing time at work in order to care for your health can spell financial ruin for your family. Tonight, we are extending the original program through the end of the year. We're also modifying the contract to support vaccination efforts. The underlying idea remains the same. For many low-income workers, the burden of missing work can prevent them from getting vaccinated. In particular, no access to paid time off or reliable childcare can create substantial hurdles for individuals simply trying to access the vaccine. There's also hesitation for some workers to be vaccinated due to fear of short-term side effects that may interfere with their return to work. In response to these challenges and to encourage increased vaccination rates, we are modifying our partnership with the Urban League to include providing financial support for residents to become fully vaccinated. Under the new program, we are calling Vaccine Green, because if we're not using alliteration, we must use rhyming. Get your vaccine and get some green. Eligible residents will receive up to $100 for demonstrating that they have been vaccinated. Improving vaccination rates is the fastest, most effective way to slow the spread of COVID-19 within the community and hopefully to stop it altogether. This financial support aims to bridge accessibility gaps to promote an equitable recovery for every person in every neighborhood, especially in communities of color that we know were disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, and in some neighborhoods continue to have vaccination rates under 40%. Emergency action is being considered so that we can immediately begin providing these vaccine incentives. We are working with the Urban League and expect to launch a website in the near future to help guide Columbus residents to sign up for the Vaccine Green program. I want to thank Council President Hardin for his efforts in ensuring this program, the ideas for this program came forth. I'd like to thank Councilmember Tyson for her collaboration as chair of Health and Human Services and her expertise as having overseen as on a council committee, the health department through all of this the last 15 months. And I'd like to thank my colleagues too for their support in considering this legislation. Are there any questions from my colleagues?
President Pro Tem Brown,
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for championing this important piece of legislation. Thank you to Councilmember Tyson and President Hardin for really helping get this off the ground. You know, we continue to have conversations around equity in our community, and this is what it looks like through legislation. This is really about providing opportunity to individuals that have been faced with obstacles, barriers to get the vaccine. Many of us on this call tonight have a bit of privilege when we can just schedule our vaccine and not think about whether or not we're going to have to call off the next day should we have a side effect. And not everyone has that ability, that privilege to be able to do that. And so this legislation takes that into consideration and ensures that there are some financial assistance there should you have a side effect. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much, Council Member. Any other questions from colleagues?
I'll just have a comment, President Pro Tem.
Yeah.
Just wanted to, again, thank you for your leadership. I certainly thank Councilmember Tyson and the Health Department for all the work they've done to keep Columbus safe. I think I talked to both Councilmember Brown and Tyson about this today. It is really important that the community understands that this is not an incentive program. It is not an incentive to go get vaccinated. There are plenty of those, and we support those too. We're at the stage of this thing where whatever we have to do to get folks to take care of themselves and our community, we are game. We will entertain that. But the purpose of this program, as Councilmember Favor just said, is to take care of the folks who have to make a decision between keeping themselves healthy and working and putting food on the table. That's what this is about. This is not an incentive program. This is help you to make the decision to keep yourself and our families safe program. And so I'm appreciative for it. I think that we will have to do more to remember that everybody doesn't have it as easy as folks who have paid time off or so. I know that when I got vaccinated, I had the Johnson & Johnson shot. I had the predictable side effect that folks talk about. I was very tired, very sluggish. I had a headache. I had the luxury to lay down for 3 hours in the middle of the day and it not come out of my paycheck. Some people in our community that work very demanding jobs and actually are usually frontline workers who have been working through this entire pandemic don't have those paid time off. We hope that this helps to answer a part of that question. So again, I just want to thank President Pro Tem and my colleagues for their leadership. Another thing that Councilmember Tyson and I talked about earlier today is clarity. We need to make sure that people know about these different programs, how they can get access to them, what the different ones mean, because there are a lot of different information coming out from different entities. So we will work with our partner agencies to make sure that there's that clarity and messaging as well. Thank you, President.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Council President. And I will underscore again what my colleagues have said, which is that barriers exist between people and the vaccine, even though everyone's technically eligible now. And that's exactly what we're trying to strip away, those barriers between people and the vaccine. Real life gets in the way. Intimidation of the healthcare system, right? I mean, a lot of people don't have familiarity with accessing it. People of color often confront bias within the healthcare system, and all these things can get in the way and really discourage folks from accessing that vaccine. So I want to highlight that there are also really important education efforts going on, so that if anyone has hesitancy, on top of just real life concerns that get in the way, we have the education out there. Columbus Public Health is doing an amazing job educating the public on what the vaccine is and why it's safe for you and your family. But in addition to that, tools like this help folks be able to afford the time it takes to get that vaccine and to recover in case they have any side effects. So thank you very much to everyone for the help in putting the program together, and Columbus Urban League, cul.org for more information. If there are no other questions, I'd like to move to remove this ordinance from the table.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Removed.
And I'd like to move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Pass.
Thank you, Council President. May I move on to Recreation and Parks?
Please.
Tonight in Recreation and Parks, we have Ordinance 0930-2021 to authorize and direct the city auditor to establish an auditor certificate in the amount of $1 million for the reimbursement of staff time related to the administration of Recreation and Parks 2020 to 2021 capital improvement projects, and to authorize the expenditure of $1 million from the voted Recreation and Parks Bond Fund. This ordinance capitalizes the labor costs of city employees for hours they spent on capital projects. This practice complies with generally accepted accounting principles and the auditor's labor capitalization policy. And the reimbursement of labor costs through capital dollars frees up additional operating dollars that are used to deliver programming and services to residents. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hart.
Pass.
Thank you. And then may I move to education?
Please.
In education, we have Ordinance 1390-2021 to authorize and direct the Director of Education to enter into grant agreements with the Workforce Development Board of Central Ohio for various summer programs that provide credit recovery, post-secondary education preparation, career readiness, and youth employment programs for high school students, to authorize the expenditure of $5,855,232 from the recovery fund, and to declare an emergency. The Department of Education will enter into grant agreements with the Workforce Development Board, who will then contract with I Know I Can to administer these summer programs. I Know I Can is the anchor organization promoting college access in Columbus. Their mission is to inspire, enable, and support Columbus students to pursue and complete a college education. And they do this by focusing on supporting students at critical junctures in their education careers. Summer is one of those critical junctures. In addition to the challenges presented by summer regression, which is an annual phenomenon when kids are not in school, COVID-19 has blown that open, causing significant disruptions to expected graduation rates for historically disadvantaged students, and presenting a huge challenge that as a community, we must address. It's all of our problem when kids can't get ahead when they can't complete what they need to for high school. So we're doing that through this funding, which will provide high school students with engaging opportunities to focus on their graduation, college, and career readiness. Emergency action is being considered to ensure the funding can be provided to the Workforce Development Board of Central Ohio, and I know I can, CCS, as soon as possible. Thank you to the department and to the mayor for advancing this work. Any questions? I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Next is Ordinance 1397-2021 to authorize and direct the Director of Education to enter into a grant agreement with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Ohio to support their out-of-school time programs for youth and teens, to authorize the expenditure of up to $500,000 from the recovery fund, and to declare an emergency. This funding will support the Boys and Girls Club's efforts by expanding the number of children they serve through their established and successful program priorities. An emergency action is considered to ensure the funding can be provided as soon as possible. I'd like to thank again the department and the mayor for advancing this work. And then I move for, if there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
And finally, in education is Ordinance 1399 to authorize and direct the Director of Education to enter into a grant agreement with the YMCA of Central Ohio for the purpose of supporting the Fresh Start program, to authorize the expenditure of up to $131,450 from the recovery fund, and to declare an emergency. The YMCA has engaged with youth across the county for 2 decades, and their Fresh Start program will serve at-risk youth ages 15 to 18 with social and emotional development, continued education, vocational skills and job acquisition, pro-social activities, social support, substance abuse, and victim awareness. Emergency action is being considered to ensure the funding can be provided to the Y Fresh Start program as soon as possible. Investing in our youth this summer is essential following an extremely difficult year full of COVID-19 challenges and disruptions. The investments we make now, represented in these pieces of legislation, represented in the work that Council has been engaged in all year and moving into the summer, all of these investments will pay dividends into the future of our kids and our neighborhoods, and truly all of us. We all do better when everyone's kids do better. We are all connected, and the investments we make in our youth will truly pay off for all of us in the long run. If there are no further questions, I move for passage.
Liz, I don't have any questions. I'm sorry, I just want to make a comment. I'm sorry, it's almost, I again, to just, want to thank the administration and you're the chair of this committee, but those 3 ordinances that we will get ready, hopefully pass this last ordinance, but these ordinances are key for our children. It's key for our community. I mean, for the work that we have been focused on in terms of thinking about keeping our kids, reimagining public safety. That's what this looks like. That's what this looks like. It's giving our kids opportunities to be engaged in programs with amazing nonprofit organizations that care deeply for them, to want to see them to move ahead. And you're right, COVID-19 was not just about an illness, it's a physical illness. It has totally interrupted the lives of children and their families. And so we need to do whatever we can to try to make sure that our children have the opportunity to continue to move forward. And this is what this programming is all about. There's no way you could have gone through last year and not think that children and families have not been affected physically, financially, mentally, in every way possible. So this is about how do we move our children and get them back, continue to enhance their overall quality of life through these ordinances. So again, it's key for our kids. So thank you for introducing them, and I appreciate the mayor and his administration on focusing on our children moving forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, council member.
President Pro Tem, can I chime in as well?
Please.
I also want to give my appreciation to the administration and to my colleagues for this partnership. This in total, I believe with what we have passed just now, these past two, the ordinance that we are about to pass right now, and several more that will come in the next couple of weeks, will total around $19.1 million of additional funding for young people this summer. As Councilmember Tyson just said, this is reimagining safety. These are us stacking hands, using every tool in our toolbox to keep our community, our young people safe. We applaud and appreciate all the organizations that are doing the heavy work. We are passing these resources through to organizations who then will be on the streets and communities working with our young people. And we will be there by their side as they do that engagement going forward. So just grateful for everyone's partnership, my colleagues, and the administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Did I hear another voice? No? Okay. Okay. It's hard to tell sometimes. With that, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President, and that's all I have in my committees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Mitch Brown. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight, this evening, I have Ordinance 1370, 2021 to authorize the transfer of funds within the Division of Police General Fund budget, to authorize the Finance and Management Director to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with Galls LLC for the purchase of uniforms and accessories for the Division of Police from existing universal term contracts, and to authorize the expenditure of $2,287,921 from the general fund. Also this evening, I have Director Stewart. Would you please share some information with regard to this purchase, sir?
That's correct. Good evening, President Harden, and council members and Councilmember Brown. Today, this particular legislation is for the issuance or replacement of police uniforms for all uniform officers. These uniform parts include things such as shirts and jackets and uniform pants, shoes, winter coats, summer coats, things of that nature. There's no ammunition, there's no weapons involved in this process, just clothing.
If there are no questions from my colleagues, I see Councilman Remy.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Brown. I just want to be clear that these could be for any type of uniform moving forward, not necessarily the current uniforms they're wearing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You muted yourself.
Please.
There you're back.
Okay, I'm sorry. These uniforms are for regular police officers, police recruits, police cadets, and even civilian employees, such as the blue tactical hats and shirts that civilian employees wear. This is for just police personnel.
Right. Just be clear though that if the new chief decides to change the uniform, these dollars can be used for those uniforms. Correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I actually do. How often do we have to replace uniforms?
Well, there's a certain amount that are issued per year, such as 3 uniform shirts, 2 pair of pants. When there's a need to replace a belt or a pair of shoes, I think every year officers receive a pair of shoes. If there's a need through damage to replace uniform parts, then that occurs. Again, with the number of police recruits that come on and cadets and even civilian employees, they also receive a minimum issuance of uniform parts. So there's some uniform parts that are issued every year, and there's some that are issued as needed.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I said, if there are no additional questions from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Brown,
Oh,
Dorans.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. Can you
Oh,
please call the roll on ordinance 1307?
Thank you. Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Also this evening, I have ordinance 1436, 2021 to authorize the city clerk to enter grant agreements with various social service agencies in support of violence intervention community programming, to authorize an expenditure of $105,000 within the recovery fund and to declare an emergency. Council President, I know this is sensitive to you. In March of 2021, Columbus City Council announced the availability of funding to support violence intervention strategies in response to rising neighborhood violence. Part of Columbus City Council's Reimagining Safety agenda involves promoting programs that foster youth engagement, employment, and the development of skills that will encourage long-term success and stability. Ordinance 1008, 2021 passed on April 19th, 2021, provided funding totaling more than $1.3 million to 10 community agencies seeking to advance the priorities of Reimagining Safety agenda. Council seeks to provide 2 additional community organizations with funding that will support nonviolent programming. 1, Reaching Higher Heights for Life, which will offer academic programming and urban gardening to students aged 6 through 17. The organization will hire 8 employees within the community to provide 12 teenage students with mentoring, supervision, and experience in Urban Gems program and community garden initiative, and it'll be led by Pastor Frederick Lamar. Also, 22nd Street Cookies, taking a multifaceted approach to addressing the need of teens 14 or older living in poverty. Teens being served have all failed at least 1 grade, and some can barely read or do elementary math. All are in danger of dropping out of school for poor attendance. All show evidence of inappropriate social behavior. Home life for all is characterized by frequent moving, drug use, and a lack of parental support. Council President Harden, do you have anything you wish to add to that, sir?
No, just kind of my comments that I said with the earlier package, that this is all part of us using every tool in the toolbox to reimagine public safety. It's about engaging young people. And we appreciate these organizations and the other countless organizations that we have funded who will wrap their arms around our young people for the next several weeks to help us in curbing this violence and keeping communities safe and keeping them engaged. It's not, and we talk so much about violence. There are also we have so many young people that are doing good that just need opportunity. And so maybe one of the other upsides to this ARP funding is that we actually are able to give them access to a job and to summer programming. And so I don't want to always just harp on our young people on the negative side, on the violence. They are amazing young people out there. And we get to now lift them up and support them and wrap our arms around them. And so this is part of that. Thank you, Councilman, for your leadership.
Thank you, President Harden. Are there any comments from my colleagues? If there are no comments from my colleagues, I move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Amended.
And move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
President Harden, may I move on to Veterans and Senior Affairs?
Please.
Thank you, sir. Also tonight, I have 2 ordinances. Ordinance 1280, 2021 to authorize an appropriation in the amount of $112,840 within the Recreation and Parks Grants Fund for the Recreation and Parks Department to provide home care and assisted living services to older adults in connection with the pre-admission screening system, providing options and resources today, passports, Medicaid waiver program in Central Ohio, and to declare an emergency. Most senior citizens prefer to live independently in their own homes. for as long as they can. Unfortunately, some need help doing so. This funding will assist Medicaid eligible seniors to get the long-term services and support they need to stay in their homes and rather than entering into a nursing home. Passport is a two-pronged program. The first part is a pre-admission screening to determine preliminary Medicaid eligibility and care needs. The second part is home care. A case manager works with the client to develop a package of in-home services to be provided by local service providers. The case manager then monitors the care for quality and changes the care plan as necessary. This funding will support 446 agencies across 8 Central Ohio counties. This is an annual funding allocation, and unfortunately, there's no one from the CO AAA available this evening to share more detailed information, but I can certainly answer any questions from my colleagues. If there are no questions from my colleagues, I move for passage and I ask for a voice vote.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown,
Abstain?
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance,
Yes.
Ms. Favor,
Yes.
Mr. Remy,
Yes.
Ms. Tyson,
Yes.
President Harden.
Yes, ordinance is passed.
The next ordinance, 1281, is a companion piece to the previous legislation to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter various contracts for the provision of pre-admission screening system providing options and resources today, Passport, home care, and assisted living services for older adults in Central Ohio, to authorize the expenditure of $86 million from the Recreation and Parks Grants Fund and to declare an emergency. This too is an annual funding allocation. There are 446 passport programs and assisted living agencies that provide home care and assisted living services in Central Ohio, referenced in the previous ordinance. Again, if there are no comments from my colleagues, I move for passage and I ask for a voice vote.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown,
Abstain?
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance,
Yes.
Ms. Favor,
Yes.
Mr. Remy,
Yes.
Ms. Tyson,
Yes.
President Harden.
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you, Council President. That is all I have in my committees this evening. Before I close, I'd like to announce that I will be hosting a second public hearing on the amendments to the Solicitation Code tomorrow on June 15th at 5 p.m. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would encourage everybody to participate in that hearing as well, as we deal with public safety and keeping our community safe. With that, I think it's time for zoning. So I move to recess. Is there a second?
Second?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorrance, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Council is in recess. Councilmember Tyson, what do you want to do? You want to break now or want to roll into it?
So we can go ahead now, but then after that, like 5 minutes after we get done with zoning.
Cool, I agree.
Okay.
Is that cool, council members? Can we do the 3 and then we'll take a break after that?
Okay.
All right. Regular meeting number 28 will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorrance, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal?
So moved.
Second?
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorrance, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
We will now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs this committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Before beginning the zoning agenda, I'll briefly explain the rules of council as pertain to speaking before council on zonings and variances. We permit 3 speakers on each side, 3 proponents and 3 opponents, and we ask that they limit their remarks to 3 minutes on each side. And we provide an opportunity for rebuttal from the applicant. On the advice of the city attorney's office, anyone who wishes to speak for or against any council variance, including staff, must be sworn in prior to giving testimony. We do so prior to beginning the reading of each variance on the agenda. The first ordinance is 1387-2021 to rezone 611 East Livingston Avenue, being 12.55 acres, generally located on the south side of East Livingston Avenue between Parsons Avenue and Hyle, from the CPD Commercial Plan Development District to the R2F Residential District and the C4 Commercial Development to CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The applicant is Nationwide Children's Hospital, care of Jill Tangman. The proposed use is Nationwide Children's Hospital's expansion, and the City Department's recommendation is approval. The Columbus South Side Area Commission recommendation is also approval, 11-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second.
Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 1406-2021 to rezone 6055 Refugee Road, being 33.17 acres, located on the south side of Refugee Road, 550 feet west of Bryce Road, from the R Rural District to the LR2, the Limited Residential District. The applicant is Molly R. Gwynn, attorney. The proposed use is a single unit residential subdivision. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Greater Southeast Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 6 approval, 3 abstain. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And the next ordinance is 856-2021 is to rezone 3301 Bryce Road, being 29.25 acres, located on the west side of Bryce Road, 800 feet south of Chatterton Road, from the R Rural District to the LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Fairway Realty, care of Attorney David Hodge. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is disapproval, and the Greater Southeast Area Commission's recommendation is approval. I will just share that again, when there's ever a disapproval, either from an area commission, the development commission, or a state department, that the zoning committee and my team, we work really hard we work with whoever has voted on disapproval to be able to try to resolve the issue. And in this case, I will share that the State Department's recommendation here is a disapproval. However, there has been considerable amount of work done and to move the State Department's recommendation to an approval. They are now in approval, and I want to again thank the Attorney Hodge and his client for certainly working with the city and making the recommendations and agreeing with the recommendations of the city. So that is now an approval. And so with that, I want to first, if are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I first want to amend as submitted to the clerk. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Does someone have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I want to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Second.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Amend it.
Thank you. I want to amend to emergency.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Amend it.
And again, I now would like to move for passage as amended.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And that concludes the zoning agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We will take a 5-minute break. Well, we'll come back at 6:45. Meeting number 27.
So
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Dorans. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in Public Utilities, I have ordinance number 1152-2021 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreements for the pole line hardware, transformers, wire and cable, reclosers, switch gears, and underground cable and accessories, and to authorize the expenditure of $2,800,000 from the Power Operating Fund. This purchase will be used on the Division of Power's electrical distribution system to serve new and existing customers, as well as replenish stock for maintenance of existing infrastructure. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 1248-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter a construction contract with Columbus Asphalt Paving, Inc. for the Holt Somerworth Storm Sewer Improvement Project to authorize the appropriation transfer of $1,320,004.25 from the Storm Sewer Reserve Fund to the Ohio Water Development Authority Storm Sewer Loan Fund to authorize the expenditure of $1,320,004.25 from the Ohio Water Development Authority Storm Sewer Loan Fund to authorize the transfer within an expenditure of up to $2,000 from the Storm Sewer Bond Fund to the Department of Public Service to provide prevailing wage administration costs for the Division of Sewers and Drainage, Stormwater Section, and to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget. This is a neighborhood flooding mitigation project. The project is needed to mitigate structural flooding and backyards and street flooding in the vicinity of Hull Avenue, Somersworth Drive, and the north central area of the city. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Council President, your permission, I'd like to move on to the Neighborhoods Committee. Thank you, sir. In Neighborhoods Committee tonight, we have ordinance number 1533-2021 to authorize the Columbus City Clerk to enter into a grant agreement with the King Arts Complex in support of Juneteenth 2021 celebration, to authorize an appropriation of expenditure of $20,000 within the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund, and to declare an emergency. Juneteenth 2021 is a program designed for all of Columbus to come together and celebrate and honor this important holiday. To expand and connect other partner organizations, the King Arts Complex is planning 3 days of events that culminates with a 7-hour program on Juneteenth itself. I'd like to invite you, Council President, the sponsor of this ordinance, to speak more directly to this partnership with the King Arts Complex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm excited to support this legislation and the programs that will be able to run because of it. Juneteenth is a commemoration in the African American community marking the end of slavery. It is symbolic because it symbolizes, allows us to reflect and to keep up hope during times when many folks folks enslaved felt hopeless. I'm thankful to see many of our community coming together this weekend to mark Juneteenth around our city. Ordinance 1533-2021 allows the King Arts Complex to host their Juneteenth festival in the historic Bronzeville neighborhood where African Americans thrive right here in our city. As we slowly return to normal, I hope that folks will be able to take a moment to participate in this family-friendly community event. Take some time to learn about Juneteenth and enjoy the festival. And most importantly, have a safe weekend. I want to thank the King Arts Complex and Javon Collins for organizing this needed community event. And thank you again, Chair Dorans. Turn back over to you.
Thank you, Council President. Wanted to see if any other colleagues from Council wanted to speak on this legislation here tonight.
Councilor Dorans.
Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you. I would like to speak on it just for a few minutes. First, I'm very excited about the collaboration with the King Arts Complex, but I also just want to just give a little context about Juneteenth. So as we consider this passage of this legislation, I'd like to share some background information about Juneteenth and the importance of June the 19th. Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. It is the anniversary of Union Army General Gordon Granger's General Order Number 3, issued on June the 19th of 1865, proclaiming that slavery in Texas had ended. Now, this announcement came 2 years, 6 months, and 19 days after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation ending slavery January the 1st of 1863. Again, 2 years, 6 months, and 19 days. And today, Juneteenth commemorates African American freedom and emphasizes education and achievement. It is a time for reflection and rejoicing. It's for assessment, self-improvement, and planning for the future. This celebration reminds us that we live in a world from which for more than 400 years continues to struggle to find liberty and justice for all. But let's commemorate Juneteenth, not for the horrific institution of slavery, which was embraced by our country, but rather let us use the occasion to showcase the strength of American spirit. We should talk about our ability as Americans to recognize wrong and discuss how we go about making things right. Our conversations should talk about equity and inclusion, moving America forward and leveling the playing field so that we can all achieve. We can celebrate our country's greatness and how we used our hearts to hear the voice of the voiceless. Today, we celebrate our ability to learn and our ability to work together for all that is good and just. So I want to say happy Juneteenth to all and look forward to the program at the King Arts Complex. Thank you, Councilmember Dorrance.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about the history of where this holiday comes from and why it matters, particularly in the past several years as our country has continued to reckon with race in our society, in our government, in our institutions. So I appreciate you making sure that if folks weren't aware of where this holiday comes from, that folks have a better understanding here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
We also have a guest speaker here tonight with us, joining us from the King Arts Complex, the Performing Arts Director, Javon Collins. Director Collins, are you with us right now?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Doing well.
Can you hear me?
Yours, sir.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Councilmember Dorrance, President Hardin, and President Pro Tem Brown. We also want to thank Council Members Favor and Tyson, as well as Director Gates, for their support of Juneteenth. And of course, the entire council's continued support of the King Arts Complex. But this year, we're in partnership with the Columbus Urban League, Lincoln Theater Association, and Maroon Arts Group, as we plan to present our 2021 Juneteenth Freedom Day commemoration. Now, as we mentioned, it's a 3-day commemoration as we're partnering with the Growing and Growth Collective that will take place on Thursday, June 17th. And then we'll have a ceremonial event that'll take place on Friday with our elders, with a drum call with Baba Tony West, procession of elders, and libation ceremony. And then that follows with a great performance that'll be in Amos Lynch Plaza. But our main focus is Saturday, June 19th, with 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. being our activities. We're inviting the entire community to learn about the significance of Juneteenth. As Councilmember Tyson mentioned, it's 156 years now. 156 years later, we'll present performances from some great local musicians, Caroline Bennett, the Actors Theater of Columbus, Dance Elite Performance Academy, Christina Miles, I Am Dance, and the Quan Hao Project, just to name a few. But, the history of it is, going back to 2020 when we launched the Heart of Protest. That movement we were able to partner with over 30 organizations to speak to the social injustice and the pain that we were all going through last year. And with that group, we were able to collectively present over 50 events during the pandemic over the past year. And we have continued the movement because we know there's much more work we need to do as we see what's going on in the country and in our city. But we also want to make this event an annual event, especially with our district partners moving forward to really continue to put out the significance of this date and really have an event that's focusing on education, unity, and accessibility for our community. But this district-wide event will feature COVID testing and vaccinations with Equitas Health, health screenings with OSU Hospitals East, youth activities, as well as information on affordable housing, college admissions, record expungements, community archival photo boards, and much more. It's a free event that'll take place in Mamie Moore Park. We'll have food, art, and information vendors also at the Columbus Urban League, and also there's some activities with the Maroon Arts Group in the Impact Box Park. We also have support from Homage and additional partnership support from Platinum TDD, as we'll live stream the event during the afternoon. And also we'll have some volunteer support from Habitat for Humanity. So we're really excited, and we want to thank the entire City Council and everyone who's put this opportunity in front of us. And we look forward to continue this for many years to come. Thank you all.
Thank you, Director Collins. Appreciate you being here tonight and telling folks more about the event itself. And I have to say, I'm looking forward to being able to get back to an event over at the King Arts Complex in the Mamie Moore Park. So looking forward to being there myself on Saturday. So with that, do any of my other colleagues have any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next in the Neighborhoods Committee, we have ordinance number 1585-2021 to authorize the director of the Department of Neighborhoods to enter in a grant agreement with the Community of Caring Development Foundation, Lead with Purpose, the Urban Foundation, Inc., and the National Center for Urban Solutions in the amount of up to $844,000 to add any needed capacity to address COVID-19 specific services for seniors, single-family households, and youth. To authorize the expenditure of up to $844,000 from the Recovery Fund, to authorize the payment of expenses starting June 1, 2021, and to declare an emergency. These nonprofit organizations will serve seniors, single-family households, and youth to help ease the challenges families have faced during this current public health emergency. Community of Caring Development Foundation and the Growing Up program is a community-based mentoring initiative designed to connect young men in the Linden community. Mentors will build relationships with program participants to identify and help resolve employment barriers. Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children is a program that seeks to decrease negative behavior and boost conflict resolution skills. Programming will be focused in the city's priority neighborhoods and will include activities to engage students and families by providing education and resources. The Urban Foundation, Inc. Facilitates the Disrupt the Summer Youth Content Creator Camp. Program is aligned with the My Brother's Keeper initiative. Youth will learn about the mechanisms of good content creation and create relevant and engaging content that seeks to positively uplift and inform youth in our community. The 6-week paid immersive summer experience for 15 youth and young creators will be held at the Warhol and Wall Street Content Factory space. Participants will create a summer campaign that helps bring attention, excitement, and elevation to the My Brother's Keeper Village community and programming. And finally, the National Center for Urban Solutions hosts the Rebuild Nelson program, a 12-month collaboration with the City of Columbus to advance community safety in the Nelson Road area. The model will implement strategies that have been demonstrated to be successful in safe, vibrant, and accessible neighborhoods, and work previously operated with the National Center for Urban Solutions as part of the Near East Side Safety Plan. The program will help will develop people-centered crime intervention, reduction, and prevention activities that focus on building social capital and reinforcing civility. Emergency action is requested to permit programming to begin as soon as possible. We do have a few public speakers here tonight, and I wanted to invite the first. We have with us Sharon Hathaway, Chief Strategy Officer of the National Center for Urban Solutions. And I believe Mr. Gregory is with him, I believe, as well, if he's still around. But Mr. Hathaway, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can. The floor is yours, sir.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I would say Mr. Gregory would love to be present. And we're actually, ironically, on 2 city council meetings at the same time. the city of Reynoldsburg is here to acknowledge the African American Male Wellness Agency for programming. And so they just called him up at the same time that I was waiting for you all. But thank you so much for the opportunity. I would like to say on behalf of the National Center for Urban Solutions, we are so grateful for this opportunity to implement Operation Rebuild Nelson. For over 25 years, our organization has been involved with moving the community to self-sufficiency. And how we've been able to do that is through education, workforce, wellness and health and wellness, and safety. And being that this is a safety opportunity, considering Nelson Road or Rebuild Nelson, we are used to, people having singing, certain projects as, we're servicing a group who are at risk. But I like to think of the group as at promise. And the reason why I say they're at promise, because they're at promise of deserving a safer community, neighbors who care. They're at promise to receive opportunities in terms of education, as well as with upskilling and job performance opportunities, as well as being able to get involved with technology and learning opportunities and mentorship. And so we here at NCUS, are glad to take this opportunity to be able to work with the members of the community and the seniors, considering the seniors, so that we can help and develop and rebuild Nelson. So thank you, Councilmember Dorrance. Thank you, Columbus City Council, to you all administration. And we're so glad to be able to do this work that we love to do.
Thank you, Mr. Hathaway, for being here tonight, but more importantly, for your work and the organization's work to, again, talking about empowering and providing promise for young people. I really appreciate the way that you put that tonight. And please give our best to Mr. Gregory. I know he's a busy guy, and it's demonstrated here tonight how busy he is. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Dorrance.
Appreciate it. Next, we have with us Mr. Adam Troy, the Executive Director of Community for Caring Development Foundation. Mr. Troy?
Thank you, Councilman Dorrance, the President Hardin, and President Pro Tem Brown, and to all of our council members. Thank you for the invitation to add our voice to the chorus of support for so many of these well-deserving programs. I'm going to be very brief because I want to get out. Well, the real reason is I want to join Councilperson Favors at the 614 celebration tonight. So I'm going to be very brief, but I do want to get out of the way so that you can hear from our project executive, one of the best and brightest, Brother Robert Cardwell. But just to sort of frame the context, most of you know for the past 2.5 years, there are 25 to 30 African-American males, and we get together over at New Salem every 30 days. We talk about the challenges and the opportunities inside of Linden. We also hold one another accountable. For those that have attended, you know that it is not a meeting for the faint of heart. And Director William Scott, you'll be happy to know that your mayor held his own back in October. But out of those, shall we say, spirited conversations, came this program that you are about to hear about tonight, called the Growing Up Initiative, the UP standing for Unlimited Potential. So let me thank you in advance, certainly the administration and the mayor's team and leaders that have provided feedback and some guidance, honest guidance for us in this process. And so let me yield to my friend and colleague, Brother Robert Cardwell, who will give you a little bit more about the Growing Up Initiative. And thank you again.
Thanks, Adam. I do have a few slides, if that would be appropriate at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Angie, can you allow him to present?
Yes, he's all set.
Thank you.
So the Growing Up program, as Adam indicated, Upstanding for Unlimited Potential.
Mr. Caldwell?
Yes.
I'm sorry, sir. Did you hit your share button? There you go, sir. And then just click for presentation.
There we are.
There you go.
So give you just a brief program overview. The program has two primary purposes. One is to equip the young men that we work with to secure and sustain living wage employment. And that can be either with a job or by helping them to start their own business. And then two, engaging them equipping them to re-engage the lending community as responsible men and leaders with a vision and the capacity to actually achieve meaningful goals for themselves, their families, and the community in which they live. And so we are focusing on these two things, primarily with what Adam indicated, referenced briefly, the gathering of men with a collection of Black men in the lending community who have an interest and an investment in the lending community, to surround these young men in learning cohorts with mentoring and life coaching relationships, and to provide these opportunities with access to funds to help them start their own businesses, training and other mentoring support to develop their employment skills and build their capacity so that they can secure employment and work towards living wage employment as their skills actually improve. We have some quantitative outcomes that we are focusing on, particularly with the pilot. We hope to have these funds with the pilot to work with 30 young men with a plan to scale up to 45 young men annually. We can guarantee that all of our participants will have life coaching plans, and that's a comprehensive plan that will be individualized for each young man. And the only way to get into the program is to complete the assessment and then develop a plan. That signals our formal enrollment as far as our program is concerned. So there's a bit of time and investment necessary through assessments and relationship building to get these young men to that point of developing a life coaching plan. But our goal is to enroll via the completion of a life coaching plan, 30 young men during this pilot phase of the program. And depending upon what their interest is vocationally, if there's some training that's necessary, we will connect them to those training resources that are in the community through our community partners. But if they want to start a business, we'll work with them to help get a business started as well. The qualitative outcomes that I want to point out, and this is really the central purpose, these are where you can measure change. We can count numbers and demonstrate some form of success, but the real important thing is the life transformation. And so we are going to help these young men with these qualitative outcomes. And so they're going to demonstrate an investment in their own personal education or vocational achievement by self-initiated, regular on-time participation in their schools, vocational training, and secured employment opportunities. They're going to understand the impact that their life and behavior choices have on their families and the community by reducing the offending behavior that they may have engaged in prior to involvement in our program. And then they will invest in the well-being of their families and friends, demonstrated by participation in community building, community service, and other enrichment activities in the lending community. So that's just a brief overview of the program, but our primary focus is the mentoring and life coaching support provided by the men that we've recruited to be life coaches, mentors, and volunteer champions for the young men that we've enrolled in the program. And if there's need for any more information, feel free to reach out to me as the program director, Robert R. Caldwell at callingallconnectors.org, or Adam Choi. And here's our contact information right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Thank you, Mr. Choi, for being here with us tonight. Appreciate being able to highlight the not only investment in youth, but also men of the community who are stepping up to play their part and helping to assist young men in building a more solid future. So thanks to those folks who've stepped up in the lending community through this program as well. There was an amendment was submitted to the clerk's office to reflect a name change of one of the organizations in the title of this ordinance. So at this time, if there's no questions or comments from my colleagues, I'm not seeing any. I want to move to amend Ordinance 1585-2021 as submitted to the clerk.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hart.
Amended.
And now I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, excuse me, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hart.
Passed.
Thank you. And Council President, with your permission, I'd like to move on to the Technology Committee.
Please.
And in the Technology Committee tonight, we have ordinance number 1578-2021, to authorize the City of Columbus Department of Technology to modify agreements with Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission and the Franklin County Educational Service Center to support broadband connectivity and access to computing devices to support the virtual education in the 2020-2021 school year and beyond, to authorize the continuation of federal CARES Act funding to reimburse the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission and the Franklin County Educational Service Center for the attached amended MOU and to declare an emergency. This amendment will modify the original agreement to include the following additional program activities, including Wi-Fi hotspots and discounted internet access, digital life skills summer programming for Columbus City youth, and additional broadband planning and outreach. I'd like to invite the Department of Technology Director Orth to speak a little bit more about the amended agreement that we're considering here tonight. Director Orth?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, President Hardin, President Pro Tem Brown, Chair Dorans, members of council. Thank you for your consideration of Ordinance 15782-2021, which modifies the city's existing CARES Act grant with MORPC and the Educational Service Center of Central Ohio to utilize remaining funds to support youth summer tech programs and continued broadband pilot support. As you know, City Council authorized an agreement in 2020 to provide hotspots to K-12 students for their use during the pandemic. We're happy to report that MORPC and the ESC of Central Ohio have been able to acquire over 3,000 hotspots that are being used by K-12 students in the city and county. MORPC and the ESC of Central Ohio will continue working throughout the remainder of the year to continue to deploy hotspots to students and families in need while work on other long-term options continues. With the remaining funds available in the grant, we are requesting use of the funds to support science, technology, engineering, and math youth programs this summer, as well as additional support of the city's broadband pilot outreach on the south side and the Near East side. We're particularly excited about the opportunity to provide youth summer tech camps for students, including classes in robotics, coding, esports, and cybersecurity, street to screen, murals, graphic design and augmented reality, and a digital life summer design workshop with high school students we hope will inform future summer tech opportunities in 2022 and beyond. Emergency legislation is being requested in order to implement the summer tech programming this year with project partners beginning in July. Thank you for your consideration of 157821, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director Orth. And again, this is yet another investment in young people in our community through this legislation. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Hardin.
Passed.
Thank you. And with that, that is all I have in my committees this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee. Committee is chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Hardin. Tonight in Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, we have Ordinance 1558-2021 to authorize the city clerk to enter into a grant agreement with Advocates for Basic Legal Equality Incorporated for the purpose of providing legal services for immigrant and refugee families in relation to the Columbus Families Together Fund, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure with the Public Safety Initiative Subfund, and to declare an emergency. The Columbus Families Together Fund was launched by my colleague, President Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown, in 2017. The fund was created to protect immigrant and refugee families in Central Ohio from the long-term financial and emotional devastation that results from aggressive deportation. Many immigrants who do not have legal immigration status do not have meritorious claims to remain in the United States, including asylum, deferred action for childhood arrivals, cancellation of removal, waivers of unlawful presence, or other legal forms of relief that could prevent deportations and the resulting harms to family members in the Columbus community. Legal representation is the most decisive factor in the outcome of immigration cases, yet it is out of reach for low-income immigrants in particular. I'm proud that we will continue our work with Advocates for Basic Legal Equality, also known as ABLE, to support Columbus residents who are detainees impacted by these issues. I'd like to turn it over to Eugene O'Malo, Managing Attorney at ABLE, to talk briefly about this work. Mr. Eugenio?
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Council Member Favor. Good evening, Council President Hardin, President Pro Tem Brown, all council members. My name is Eugenio Molo. I'm the managing attorney of the Agricultural Worker and Immigrant Rights Practice Group at ABLE. I want to thank Council Member Favor, her dedicated staff members, and the Proposal Review Committee for leading this important initiative and for selecting ABLE as a Columbus Families Together Fund recipient. I would also like to thank President Pro Tem Brown for establishing the fund in 2017. As Council Member Favor mentioned, CFTF ensures the rights of all people to access justice while facing deportation. Before we separate families and before we deport community members who might face persecution or torture abroad, we must respect the constitutional guarantee of due process. As the federal government is not required to provide an attorney to immigrants, those who cannot afford an attorney usually face deportation proceedings unrepresented, which we know means their likelihood of success is significantly diminished. The CFTF helps to fill that justice gap before the Cleveland Immigration Court, the only immigration court in Ohio. Our work provides immigrants with a chance to have their fair day in court with an attorney, someone to educate and counsel them about immigration law and relief requirements, and answer their questions about the detention and removal process. Legal advocacy is more critical than ever as the harms of the pandemic and immigration enforcement fall disproportionately on people of color and those who are detained or incarcerated. With this funding, our priority will be to seek the release of clients from detention in any Ohio facility and reunify them with their children and other family members, alleviating the financial and emotional disruption associated with prolonged detention. For information about ABLE's work with the CFTF since 2017, please visit our annual report on our website, immigration.ablelaw.org. There you'll also find statistics, real stories of impact written in our clients' own words. You'll find Know Your Rights materials available in 8 languages and ways in which people can apply for our services. Again, I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation to Councilmember Favor for leading this important community effort as Franklin County residents pursue justice and family unity in our immigration system. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eugenio, and thank you for your legal work, your advocacy, and support of our immigrant and refugee community. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I'd move for passage.
Second.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Brown?
Abstain?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorrance?
Yes.
Ms. Favor?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1559-2021 to authorize the city clerk to enter into a grant agreement with the Council on American Islamic Relations, Ohio, for the purpose of providing legal services for immigrant and refugee families in relation to the Columbus Families Together Fund, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Public Safety Initiative Subfund, and to declare an emergency. Low-income immigrants currently lack sufficient access to case management assistance and key legal resources such as Know Your Rights sessions. Columbus Families Together Fund expands access to critical legal resources to immigrant and refugee families that will improve their understanding of their rights when interacting with immigration officials and assist them with navigating through the federal immigration system. The Council on American Islamic Relations, Ohio, or CARE, has been serving the immigrant and refugee communities in Central Ohio since 1998, and this grant will allow them to expand current services to provide additional Know Your Rights sessions and materials, community safety trainings, and other legal services to the immigrant community. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorrance, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden?
Passed.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have ordinance 1560-2021 to authorize the city clerk to enter into a grant agreement with Our Lady of Guadalupe Center of Catholic Social Services for the purpose of providing legal services for immigrant and refugee families in relation to the Columbus Families Together Fund, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Public Safety Initiative Subfund, and to declare an emergency. The second legal services grant to support our refugee and immigrant community will go to Our Lady of Guadalupe Center, who has been serving the Hispanic community in Central Ohio since 1999. We look forward to working with all of the organizations granted funding tonight to continue this critical work here in Columbus. If there are no questions or comments by my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Economic Development Committee, chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. I have two items of the Economic Development Committee this evening. Both deal with annexation and both have a little bit different effect. The first one we'll talk about this evening, ask for the support of my members, will allow, interestingly enough, the director will speak to this a little bit, but if on townships that we don't have an agreement with, if we annex them into Columbus, they actually get the opportunity to vote in both the township and the city. And then on the second one, it kind of illustrates how they are taxed by the township and the city. And there are some people that will get some relief after we pass this tonight up in Perry Township. So the first ordinance is 1433, 2021, to authorize the Director of Development Department to enter into an annexation agreement with the trustees of Blendon Township, and upon execution of the agreement, to submit a petition to the Board of County Commissioners of Franklin County requesting a change in the boundary lines of Montgomery Township so as to make the boundary lines identical with the corporate limits of the city of Columbus and certain portions of Blendon Township pursuant to the annexation agreement, and to declare an emergency. Portions of Blendon Township were annexed to Columbus from 2002 to present using the expedited Type 2 annexation petition process. The expedited Type 2 process outlined in the Ohio Revised Code does not generally allow municipalities to conform the boundaries of newly annexed territory. As a consequence, annexed lands remain in the township, even though they have been annexed by the city, thereby having a dual status with respect to such things as tax obligations and elections. An exception to the boundary conformance prohibition is permitted if an annexation agreement between the municipality and township addresses the matter. The Blendon Township trustees support conformance of these areas as well as conformance of all future annexation by Columbus. Both the city and township have determined that it is in their best interest of their respective residents, citizens, and taxpayers to enter into an annexation agreement requiring the removal of previously annexed land from Blendon Township and setting in place the same provision for future annexation. Such an agreement has been drafted by both parties. This legislation authorizes the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an annexation agreement with the trustees of Blendon Township. I am going to turn this over to Director Stevens. This is our ongoing work in annexation conforming throughout with the many different townships that we annex from. I will turn it over to the director for some additional information regarding this ordinance. Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Remy, members of council. As the chair mentioned earlier, prior to 2002, when we would annex property into the city limits, we would conform our boundaries to the Montgomery Township, which years back, or decades back, I should say, became a paper township. So no longer is an entity that levies property taxes or has any elected body, elected officials representing it. In 2002, the state of Ohio legislature changed the law that if we wanted to move forward with annexation in an expedited fashion to conform the boundary, we would need agreements with that township or those townships where the annexed land came from. We currently have 3 of these development or annexation agreements with townships in place. This would be the 4th one. And it is a great way to make sure that our boundaries within the city align with the Montgomery Township and conforms those boundaries. So there's not duplication and confusion in services, development requirements, as well as taxation. I'd be happy to answer any question.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions about this piece of legislation? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Next, I have ordinance 1483, 2021, to authorize the director of the Department of Development to submit a petition to the Board of County Commissioners of Franklin County requesting a change in the boundary lines of did I do that? Oh yeah, that's right. Boundary lines of Montgomery Township so as to make the boundary lines identical with the corporate limits of the city of Columbus and certain portions of Perry Township pursuant to the annexation agreement and to declare an emergency. This is very similar to the last one, except just in a different township. So I'm going to turn it over to Director Stevens for some additional background on this particular ordinance.
Thank you, Chair Remy. This is one of the townships that we had a prior annexation agreement with. So as we annex land in, we conform the boundaries, which the previous ordinance gave us that right in the agreement for London Township. So now we're just doing the conformance of boundaries for Perry Township.
And this is the one where some property owners that live in the Columbus will get up to maybe a $2,000-$3,000 tax relief on their bill because they're paying two different entities. Any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Council President, can I move on to the Administration Committee?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Tonight, I have Ordinance 1528-2021 to amend Ordinance number 2715-2013 as amended by amending sections 3, 4A, 5, 6C, 6E, 7A, 7B, 7G, 10, and 12, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance amends the Police Management Compensation Plan, ordinance number 2715-2013, as amended to enact the classification of Police Assistant Chief as the result of the Civil Service Commission action, to modify the pay structure to include the new classification, and to add the new classification to appropriate sections of the ordinance. This ordinance also modifies the vacation accrual schedule for the police chief and includes the police assistant chief. Emergency action is necessary to timely implement the proposed amendments. Essentially, the Civil Service Commission created the position of assistant chief under the Reimagining Safety campaign that this council and the mayor have been putting forth in our agenda. This establishes the pay schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Director Brandon to provide some additional information on this and then follow up with Director DeLong. Director Brandon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, President Harden, Chair Remy, and members of council. As you mentioned, this ordinance to amend the police MCP is necessary in order to add the police assistant chief classification to the compensation plan. It also amends, as you mentioned, various sections of the police MCP, including vacation, longevity, and the definition sections, just to name a few, and that is to include, again, the police assistant chief class. The Civil Service Commission creates classifications. Our office, the Department of Human Resources, designates the compensation and salary associated with the class. And this step in the process is required in order to add the new class to the police MCP. So your favorable consideration is appreciated. And if you have any questions, I'm here to try to answer those for you.
Thank you, Director Brandon. Director DeLong, would you speak to this as well?
Good evening. Chair Remy, President Harden, other members of council. I'm just going to kind of fill you in on how a classification gets created so people understand the process. At the request of Public Safety, the Civil Service Commission created the classification specification for the police assistant chief. This classification was developed just by reviewing our own class plan, reaching out to other jurisdictions, and by having numerous discussions with individuals at Public Safety, including at that time the police chief. The classification specification is then assigned by the appointing authority or by their designee. And that happened with us on February 11th. And it was approved by the Civil Service Commission at a meeting on February 17th. So at this point, through the process that Nikki identified where we did our part, she's now identified the appropriate pay and the MCP. And now we're asking you to adopt and amend the pay plan. And in this case, like she said, it's a police MCP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director DeLong and Director Brandon. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing that, I just want to say that I had the opportunity to have lunch with both the chief and the assistant chief last Friday, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have their leadership here in Columbus. Looking forward to working with them, and incredibly excited for the future that they hold in their hands. So we're here to support them and make sure that they're successful. So I appreciate my council colleagues' support. And with that, I move for passage.
Thank you.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
And that is all I have for this evening, Council President. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Health and Human Services Committee. The committee is chaired by Councilmember Tyson. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Isn't it Remy still?
Yes.
I'm thinking
Councilmember Remy, I apologize. You have another committee.
I think he is Environment Committee, right? Yes, he is it.
Give me a second here. I got it. My staff.
It's all right. We'll get it done.
My staff's killing me tonight. I'm just kidding. Love my staff. Let me get to this. All right, so of course we do. Tonight I have excited to support the mayor in sponsoring ordinance number 1380/2021 to authorize the Director of Public Service to execute agreements with and to provide financial support to the YMCA of Central Ohio relative to the Youth Litter Pickup Program, Earth Service Corps, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,001,175 from the recovery fund to authorize the return of any unexpected funds after the applicable contract period and to declare an emergency. Earlier this year, the mayor announced this program in partnership with YMCA of Central Ohio to be the administrator of this program. This will provide funding to hire up to 400 youth in this endeavor throughout the summer and into the fall. I believe I see that Assistant Director, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Steve Wenzel is on the line. So I will turn it over to him for some comments.
Thank you, Chair Remy, President Harden, members of council. The department's really excited by this new initiative and program resulting from a partnership between the city and the YMCA as a part of their Earth Service platform. This program includes, as you mentioned, Chair Remy, the YMCA will employ 400 youth and young adults between the ages of 15 and 21 to collect litter and debris at various locations in the Hilltop, Linden, Near East Side, Far East Side, South Side, and Northland neighborhoods during the summer and the fall of 2021. They'll also educate our teens and our young adults about the value of recycling and teamwork, and they'll encourage participants to seek ongoing employment with the YMCA. Participants in the program will work an average of 20 hours per week during the first 12 weeks of the program, with a reduced schedule of 8 hours per week in September and October. This is not to conflict with school or athletics or other obligations that participants might have. Another goal of this initiative is not only to provide summer employment, but also involve the teens and the young adults from this youth employment program and other aspects of the YMCA programming, including teen summer camp, teen after school, youth achievers, youth in government, and lifeguarding. The YMCA will provide training for participants to prepare them for their involvement and/or their possible employment at the YMCA. Like I mentioned, this is a program and initiative that the department is excited about. We ask council for your support by passage of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is an exciting program. In November of last year, we started the Cleaner Columbus initiative to help clean up our communities. We are finishing up our first cohort for this year, moving right into the summer in partnership with the mayor, this youth programming. This year we will dedicate over $2.5 million in cleaning up our streets as a result of this Cleaner Columbus initiative. So we're incredibly excited, especially to involve our youth in this program and some of the organizations that support the schools. So thank you to the Department of Public Service for putting this together. Of course, the administrator, Tim Swager, who has been instrumental in making sure that Keep Columbus Beautiful gets the supplies out. We're keeping track of what we collect, and the success has been overwhelming. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues on this particular issue? Yes, Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. I just wanted to share that, again, all these programs that are being funded tonight are just really extraordinary to help our young people move forward. But I also want to just give my own personal story. I was picking up trash at the age of 14. I was in a program we weren't necessarily thinking about the environment in terms of recycling, but again, the importance of cleaning up a community. It was with the Billy Brown Jones Health Center and through a program. So again, I know some people think about what is picking up trash may not be the best job. However, it does teach you, it teaches a number of things. It will teach you the importance of having a clean community. It will teach you the importance of when you're working with other leaders who want to be mentors to you, to be able to know you can have money in your pocket, but also help you to think about other goals that you may want to have, as other goals to be successful in school, to be able to get an education. It does more. So I think it's important to share that, as we're talking about here, opportunities which all young people, just through the research from the girls, but I'm sure it's the same for my brother's keeper, it's allowing young people to have money in their pockets and to be able to feel good about themselves, especially around caring adults. So I think this is a great program. All the programs are great, but I just wanted to give a perspective of when I was 14 years old. That's exactly how I started working. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Tyson. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
And now I am finally done. Thank you, Council President.
Yep. You were trying to get to that 614 celebration too.
That's right.
You got to be careful about that. The next committee coming for council is the Health and Human Services Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Tyson. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Councilmember, I think you're still muted.
Muted.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry, I was muted. Okay, now I'm not muted. Thank you, Ms. Burt. So let me go back. All right, so the first ordinance I have is 1434-2021, and it is to authorize the Director of Development to execute a grant agreement with the Image Character Etiquette, Inc. in the amount of up to $77,716 for its Aaron Pink She's Gold Leadership Program, and to authorize an appropriation and expenditure of $77,716 from the General Fund Neighborhood Initiative Subfund, and to declare an emergency. Founded in 2011, Aaron Pink is a Columbus-based nonprofit organization dedicated to the empowerment of girls and teens, targeted with an emphasis on creating pathways and advancement for girls and young women of color. Their innovative programs provide girls with consistent access to mentorship and tangible resources needed to become leaders in their communities and beyond. Led by a dedicated team of mentors and role models, their curriculum implements customized solutions and strategies for young girls and women to boldly speak up and advocate for equitable realities for themselves, their families, and communities. They inspire girls to set standards and expectations that align with their values and morals, to encourage confidence so they can confront stereotypes and peer pressure, and to empower them to find and use their voices. And again, this ordinance is here because of the work of the Commission on Black Girls and the the work of Erin Pink and this leadership program, and she'll share more information about it, is exactly the kinds of programs that our girls are saying they want and need. And so now I'm going to ask Erin Pink to share some information regarding her program. Good evening, Erin.
Good evening. Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. May I ask permission to share my screen?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I will share it when I'm ready for my visual. So thank you, Councilmember Tyson, Council members, President Harden, for supporting the She's Gold Leadership Program. I also appreciate this opportunity to share additional information about our organization. As she said, I am Erin Hathaway, Executive Director of Erin Pink Girl Empowerment, established under Image Character Etiquette, also known as ICE Mentors, which provides youth with practical lessons and positive examples of how to navigate life through our school programs and our community leadership and mentor programs. In programs specifically for Black and Brown youth, if they do not provide an unencumbered space for just Black girls, our needs are easily eclipsed by the needs of Black boys. In programs targeted for girls in general, the experiences and needs of Black girls are lost under the lens of gender, with an assumption that the experiences of all girls is similar. We know that this is not the case, and that Black girls have their own unique experiences. Black girls are often treated differently, disciplined more harshly, and adultified. A simple yet bold statement from one of my students rings in my ear. She said, "I am 15, I'm not grown." Black girls are treated and looked at like adults, overly sexualized, policed for hairstyles, clothing choices, and for choosing to speak up for themselves. Unfortunately and painfully, my students, my mentors, and myself see ourselves in Olivia Kurtz and Ma'Khia Bryant, and we feel the pain from the senseless violence in our own backyard. So thank you, Councilmember Tyson, for recognizing the importance and the need for the Commission on Black Girls and the urgency to support organizations such as ours that are boots on ground, fighting and creating pathways of advancement for girls and young women of color. Research shows that providing leadership opportunities for Black girls in supportive environments not only positively impacts girls, but has long-term impacts on our society. Led by this mission, our leadership program, the She's Gold Leadership Program, is a brave space that will serve approximately 90 middle school through high school age girls by the end of the year through our innovative approach, interactive activities, creative research, and peer engagement. Our students receive professional headshots, network with young professional women of color, present and hear from city leaders and officials, and provide high schoolers with paid opportunities and receive leadership opportunities while connecting with like-minded peers and young women as mentors who look just like them. And as council members stated, these are amongst some of the things in the report that girls stated they need and they desire, which were leadership opportunities and to be amongst girls and women who look like them. Again, thank you, Councilmember Tyson and council members for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Erin. And also, This year, we will again be hosting the, which we'll hear about next week, but our back to school rally for girls, our summit for girls, and Ms. Hathaway will also be working with the other consultants and especially focusing on our girls that are the middle school age. So are there any questions or comments if there are no more questions or comments for this legislation, I very excitedly move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Aaron. And the next ordinance is Ordinance 1435-2021. And it's to authorize the Director of Development to execute a grant agreement with The Ohio State University in the amount of $27,968 to create opportunities for healing with a mindfulness-based stress reduction intervention with criminal justice system involved girls and their parents and caregivers, and to authorize an appropriation and an expenditure of $27,968 from the General Fund Neighborhood Initiative Subfund. And I am going to, first I'll mention, so this is there's an urgent need to provide specific and targeted support for criminal justice involved in at-risk Black girls. These girls are experiencing more stress due to the coronavirus and its effect on their mothers, parents, and caregivers, with 57% noting that their mental health was worse due to the virus and its effects. In partnership with us, Columbus City Council, and the Franklin County Juvenile Court System that's working with Judge Elizabeth Gill and the FCJC staff, we will refer interested parent caregiver dyads to the OSU program. And this intervention will help reduce stress among all participants and promote restoration and healing that will reduce the potential for law-breaking behavior. And this is for court-involved Black girls aged 14 to 17. And before I share any more, I'm going to ask the person who is going to be leading this project, Dr. Camille A. Quinn, a licensed and independent social worker in Ohio, an assistant professor at the OSU College of Social Work. And her work draws on over 20 years of prior experience in social and health services as a practitioner and administrator. And she is a funded researcher and has substantive expertise to develop and tailor interventions to improve the well-being of Black youth and their families, especially girls and young women within our community and our correctional settings, which are all needed to carry out this project. And I'm going to now ask Dr. Camille Quinn to please share information about this program. Dr. Quinn.
Thank you so much, Council Member Tyson. Thank you, Council President Harden, Council President Pro Tem Brown, and all members of the Council. Again, my name is Camille R. Quinn. I'm an assistant professor in the College of Social Work at The Ohio State University. My research takes a holistic approach and view of Black girls and young women in Columbus and focuses on their strengths over the life course, in their families, and in the juvenile justice system. My project focuses on a healing intervention, mindfulness-based stress reduction for Black girls who are court involved and their parents or caregivers. Involvement in the juvenile justice system has tremendous costs for the individuals in it, especially Black girls who are overrepresented in the juvenile justice system. The 2019 Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Report of Arrests noted that there was a decrease in arrests for boys, but not for girls. This suggests great implications for Black girls in particular. The Franklin County Juvenile Court offered data from 2018 and noted that Black girls had an 87% higher success rate for programs such as restorative justice among all other youth that participated or referred to these programs. Given that, it is imperative that a healing focused type of intervention be offered and provided for girls who fit this profile. I believe that girls like Micaiah Bryant, if they had the opportunity to participate in an intervention like this, might have had opportunities to address their own issues of trauma and potentially post-traumatic stress disorder that impacted her behavior on the day of that event. What people witnessed in that video looked like rage or even threat of harm, when in fact she was responding to personal threats for her own safety and potential for harm. I believe that this type of intervention with a pilot group of Black girls and their parents and caregivers, who will be compensated, because as was noted by Councilmember Tyson and others here tonight, the coronavirus has had a devastating impact on all of our communities. But these populations in particular have experienced a greater effect with a decrease of any type of underemployment or ability to support themselves. So being able to compensate not only the girls, but their parents and caregivers in a meaningful way is imperative. This work will serve as the pilot work needed to continue with further opportunities for extensive funding that will provide better opportunities for culturally tailored interventions for girls and their parents. This also was identified as an opportunity from the Commission on Black Girls and Women by Councilmember Tyson. With that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and share information about this project.
Thank you, Dr. Quinn, for being here. Thank you for your ongoing work of working with Black girls and Black women. And you're absolutely right. The Commission on Black Girls report even stated that our Black girls are arrested almost 2 times the amount as white girls. The data is there. This data came from the Columbus Police Department's data. It also shared that our girls are almost two times they are victims about two times more than white girls are victims. So again, this work is so important, and I look forward to getting the results of this initial pilot program, and hope this work, based upon the results of this work, again, to be able to have hopefully more funding to support more girls. And it's important about paying people for what they do. We ask people to be a part of studies, et cetera. And you know what? That's their time and their energy. And it's so important that we're able to provide resources, like you said, not to the girls, but to their families. So thank you for this work. I look forward to you getting started and moving forward and helping us continue to save our girls' lives. Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues?
Councilmember Tyson, if I may just take this opportunity to thank you for these 2 very important pieces of legislation. Once again, I believe we've had a theme for this night's council meeting that truly demonstrates our commitment to not only reimagining public safety, but reinvesting in our communities. I specifically want to call out the fact that we're having this conversation around what mental health and support looks like in the Black community, normalizing the fact that it's okay when you're not okay, and knowing when to ask for help. A day after Ms. Bryant's untimely passing, Councilmember Brown and I held a youth forum where we provided an opportunity for our youth to talk about their feelings and to help process what they had experienced. And it only elevated the need for us to continue to normalize the fact that our young people need mental health support. And I am truly grateful for what this legislation is going to do for our young Black girls today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor. The last comment I'm gonna make, just to add to that, is if anyone watched the hearing of George Floyd and saw the young people on the witness stand and the trauma that they had in talking about, because they were there and watching a man killed, the trauma that they had from that. And I sit there thinking, who's providing them services? They were crying on the witness stand, feeling guilty about what happened. And so that is post-traumatic stress disorder a year later. And so again, this work with Dr. Quinn is that our girls deal with issues and concerns from COVID. They were already having issues before COVID, and now look, through COVID. So we've got to have interventions that work, and mindfulness and healing for our young people. So thank you for your comments, Councilmember Favor. And if there aren't any more comments, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Again, thank you, Dr. Quinn. And then I will ask if I could just quickly move to rules and reference, and it's ordinance. I'm sorry. It is ordinance number 998-2021, and it is to supplement the Columbus Zoning Code Title 33 with a new section 3312.053 in order to create the East Franklinton Special Parking Area, to amend various sections in Chapter 3323 to add a new section or to clarify the limits on the ability of the East Franklinton Review Board and to grant parking variances in the newly created special parking area and to provide relief for historic properties. Again, Councilmember Favor shared that there will be a hearing on this legislation on on the 17th, at 4:30. And so the plans will be like to table this until after the hearing on the 17th, and hopefully this will be on the agenda on the 21st. So I'll move to table this ordinance until June 21st.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you.
Table.
Thank you. That concludes my committee this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The final piece of legislation comes out of my committee, the Rules and Reference Committee. It's ordinance 1567-2021. It's to submit to the electors of the City of Columbus at the November 2nd, 2021 general election the question of adopting the proposed ordinance, such as question to be known as proposed ordinance number 1, clean energy. On October 19, 2019, petitioners filed with the city clerk a pre-circulation copy of a petition for proposed ordinance that would establish an energy conservation and energy on May 17, 2021, Columbus City Council approved ordinance 1265-2021, finding that the petitioners had complied with the relevant provisions of the city charter and findings that the petition for initiated ordinance was legally sufficient. Previous ordinance 2770-2020 was repealed. This ordinance fulfills the terms of the ruling of the Supreme Court of Ohio and the requirements of the city charter by directing that this proposed ordinance be placed on the ballot for the upcoming general election on November 2nd, 2021. Are there any comments from my colleagues? I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Amended. Now I move for passage. Is there a motion for passage?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Ordinance is passed. Seeing no further business to come before council, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Have a good evening, everyone. We have one non-agenda speaker, and